What was meant to be a routine human exploration mission turns into a moment that reshapes to civilizations forever. On a distant planet governed by ancient laws older than memory, one accidental act of survival triggers a bond no one can undo. A human who never chose power becomes the center of an alien world's deepest tradition, while an alien princess must face the consequences of saving a life when the cost is her own future. This story is not about chance meetings or simple destiny. It is about responsibility, culture, and the unseen rules that decide who we become. As Earth and an alien civilization stand on the edge of first contact, one blood-bound connection forces both worlds to question their laws, their fears, and the meaning of choice. A single moment, a forgotten law, and a bond that turned survival into history. The mission was supposed to be quiet, fast, and forgettable. That was how most deep space survey operations were described in official reports. A small human crew had landed on the planet under strict instructions: observe, collect samples, avoid contact, and leave. The planet was marked as potentially inhabited, which meant no direct interaction unless survival demanded it. Ethan Cole was not meant to be a hero. He was a systems engineer, chosen for his calm thinking and technical skill, not bravery. He had left Earth believing this mission would be another line on his resume. He did not know that history was already moving toward him. The planet looked calm from orbit. Wide blue plains stretched across the surface, broken by tall silver trees that shimmered under the twin suns. The air was breathable, the gravity stable. Everything seemed almost welcoming. But calm worlds often hid the deepest dangers. The crew moved carefully. Drones scanned ahead while Ethan adjusted sensors near the landing craft. That was when the ground beneath him shifted. A creature burst from the soil without warning. It was fast, heavy, and far larger than anything the scanners had predicted. Panic spread instantly. Security fired warning shots, but the creature reacted violently, striking back with raw force. One blow sent Ethan flying against a rock formation. His suit cracked. Alarm screamed. Pain flooded his body. His vision blurred. He tried to move but couldn't. The world felt distant, as if he were sinking underwater. Through fading awareness, he heard shouts, weapons firing, orders being screamed. Then everything slowed. The creature suddenly stopped. Ethan did not see the fight end. What he saw instead was a figure stepping into his fading vision, tall, luminous, and unmistakably not human. She moved with authority, as if the land itself recognized her presence. Her skin reflected light like polished stone. Her eyes glowed with intelligence, fear, and urgency. Princess Keleth had been observing the humans from a distance. Her people had watched Earth for years, debating whether humans were ready for contact. The council had ordered silence. No interference. But when she saw one of them dying on her world, instinct overruled law. She knelt beside Ethan. His breathing was shallow. His blood stained the ground. Keleth knew what would happen if she did nothing. He would die, and her planet would be marked as hostile forever. She made a choice that would change everything. Among her people, blood was not just life. It was identity, memory, and power. Sharing it was forbidden except in the most sacred of circumstances. Keleth hesitated only once. Then she cut her palm with a small blade and pressed her hand against the crack in Ethan's suit. Her blood flowed into his system. The reaction was immediate. Ethan's pain faded into warmth. His shattered cells began to repair themselves. His breathing steadied. The alarm stopped screaming. His body accepted the alien blood as if it had always been meant to. Keleth pulled her hand away in shock. The bond had taken hold instantly. Too fast, too complete. Ethan regained consciousness only briefly. He saw her face clearly, then eyes wide with something close to fear. He tried to speak, to ask who she was, but darkness pulled him under again. By the time the human crew reached him, the creature was gone, and the alien princess had vanished into the trees. The crew rushed Ethan back to the ship. Medical scans showed something impossible. His injuries were gone. Not healed, slowly gone entirely. His blood chemistry had changed, but his body showed no signs of rejection. The doctors could not explain it. Ethan woke hours later, confused but alive. He remembered the creature. He remembered falling, and he remembered the glowing eyes. Back on the planet's surface, Keleth stood alone beneath the silver trees. The truth crashed down on her with unbearable weight. According to the ancient laws of her people, blood shared in a moment of survival created an unbreakable bond. Not symbolic. Not emotional. Legal. Spiritual. Absolute. She had not just saved a life. She had bound herself to a human. The council would not forgive this. The elders would not listen to excuses. And the human-aware, innocent, had unknowingly crossed a line older than her civilization. Above the planet, the human ship prepared to leave, believing they had narrowly escaped disaster. They did not know that first contact had already happened. And it had happened in blood. The human ship did not leave the planet right away. Command decided to stay in orbit for observation after what had happened on the surface. Ethan's sudden recovery raised too many questions. Medical officers ran test after test, but every result pointed to the same impossible truth. His body was healthier than it had ever been. Ethan felt strange too, stronger, more alert. His thoughts were clearer, as if a fog had lifted from his mind. At the same time, something else troubled him. He kept thinking about the glowing-eyed figure who had saved him. It felt less like a memory and more like a presence, distant but real. On the planet below, Princess Keleth stood before the High Council. The chamber was carved from crystal stone and filled with elders whose lifespans measured centuries. They already knew what she had done. Nothing escaped the ancient watchers. Silence filled the room as Keleth stepped forward. She did not deny her actions. She explained the attack, the dying human, and the choice she had made. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. The elders reacted with shock, then anger. Saving a foreign life was not forbidden. Sharing blood was... One elder spoke slowly, his voice heavy with judgment. The law was clear. Blood given in a moment of survival created a binding link recognized by their world itself. It was not something even the council could easily undo. Keleth tried to explain that the human had no knowledge of their customs. He had not asked for the bond. He had not understood what was happening. The council answered with a truth that chilled her. Intent did not matter. The law existed to protect balance, not feelings. A bond once formed reshaped fate for both beings involved. Word of the incident spread quickly among her people. Some viewed the act as a disaster. Others saw it as destiny. Political factions began arguing over what the bond meant. If the human lived, he now carried a legal connection to the royal line. That alone made him powerful. Above the planet, the human crew received an unexpected signal. It was structured, intelligent, and clearly artificial. First contact protocols were activated immediately. The alien delegation arrived hours later. Their ship was massive, elegant, and calm in its movements. When communication opened, the tone was formal, but tense. Earth's diplomats listened carefully as the aliens explained that a sacred law had been triggered during the incident. They did not accuse the humans of attack. Instead, they stated that a binding event had occurred involving one of their royals and a human crew member. The humans were confused. They asked for clarification. That was when the words were spoken aloud for the first time. Blood bond. Planetary binding. The room went silent. Ethan was brought into the meeting under medical supervision. He listened as translators converted the alien language into simple terms he could understand. With every sentence, the weight of the situation grew heavier. He hadn't chosen this. He hadn't even known it was possible. When Keleth appeared on the screen, their eyes met for the first time since the incident. Something passed between them, recognition, tension, and a strange pull neither could explain. She spoke sharply then, emotion breaking through her royal composure. She accused him not with hatred, but with frustration and fear. Her words echoed through both ships. "You drank my blood," she said. "That makes you my mate on this planet." A sentence stunned everyone. Ethan tried to respond, but words failed him. He could only say the truth. He never meant for any of this to happen. Keleth knew that. That knowledge made it worse. Earth's representatives argued that no law should bind a human without consent. The Alien Council countered that the law was not written, it was woven into their biology and their world. The bond existed whether they accepted it or not. The situation threatened to collapse into conflict. Earth feared losing one of its people to an alien world. The aliens feared destabilizing their royal system. Ethan was placed under protective watch. He was no longer just a crew member. He was a living symbol of a broken boundary. As debates continued, Ethan began to notice changes within himself. He could sense when Kelleth was nearby, even across vast distance. He felt emotions that were not his own, brief flashes of worry, anger, and determination. He did not understand it, but he did not ignore it either. Kelleth, meanwhile, faced pressure from every side. Some demanded punishment. Others demanded she use the bond to strengthen their position with Earth. She felt trapped between duty and consequence. Neither of them had wanted this connection. Yet it was already shaping the future of two worlds, and there was no simple way to undo it. Ethan's life no longer felt like it belonged to him. From the moment the alien delegation arrived, every step he took was watched, recorded, and discussed by people far above his rank. He slept in a guarded medical room. He ate under observation. Even his thoughts felt crowded, as if something unseen was listening. The doctors confirmed what he already felt. His body was changing, but not in a harmful way. His reflexes were sharper. His endurance was higher. He healed faster from small injuries. Yet no test could explain why. The only answer anyone had was the same one they avoided saying aloud. The bond, Earth's leadership, debated endlessly. Some believed Ethan should be brought home immediately, bond or not. Others feared that removing him might trigger consequences they didn't understand. The Alien Council warned them carefully. The bond was stable only while both bonded beings remained within the influence of the planet. Separation could cause harm. How much harm they could not say with certainty. Ethan listened to these conversations from behind glass walls. He felt like an object being argued over, not a person. The worst part was that part of him understood the aliens' concern. Deep inside, he felt tied to the planet below. Leaving it suddenly felt wrong, like walking away from gravity itself. Princess Kelleth was facing her own battle. Her days were filled with council meetings, formal hearings, and quiet threats hidden behind polite words. Some elders accused her of recklessness. Others accused her of weakness for allowing emotion to guide her. A few more dangerous than the rest saw opportunity. If the bond remained, the human could be used as leverage over Earth. Kelleth hated that thought. She had saved a life, not created a tool. Yet she could not deny the truth. The bond connected them. She felt it clearly now. When Ethan was anxious, a faint pressure formed behind her thoughts. When she focused on him, the connection sharpened, like tuning into a distant signal. She requested permission to speak with him directly. Both sides agreed, though with strict limits. The meeting took place in a neutral chamber aboard the alien ship. The room was simple and open, designed to feel calm. Translators hovered quietly, ready to bridge the language gap. When Ethan entered, Kelleth stood waiting. This time, there were no screens, no distance. They were standing in the same space. For a moment, neither spoke. Ethan noticed how tired she looked. Not physically, but emotionally. The confident figure he remembered from his fading vision was still there, but now it was weighed down by responsibility. "I didn't choose this," Ethan said finally, his voice steady but honest. "I didn't know." "Oh, no," Kelleth replied. "That does not erase what was done." Her words were firm, but not cruel. They spoke carefully, each trying to understand the other's world. Ethan explained Earth's laws, consent, and personal freedom. Kelleth explained her people's view of balance, survival, and bonds that existed beyond choice. Neither side was wrong. That truth made the situation harder. As the conversation continued, something unexpected happened. The tension eased. They began to listen instead of defend. Ethan realized that Kelleth was not angry at him as a person. She was angry at fate, at a law that left no room for mercy. Kelleth realized that Ethan was not reckless or greedy. He was simply human. Still, understanding did not solve the problem. Outside the chamber, pressure grew. News of the incident had leaked on Earth. Media outlets ran endless stories, some exaggerated, some fearful. The idea that a human could be legally bound to an alien royal shook public opinion. Protests formed. Supporters argued it was the beginning of unity. Critics called it a disaster. On the alien world, whispers spread through the population. Some believed the bond was a sign that change was coming. Others feared it meant their traditions were weakening. Rival factions began moving quietly. If the bond could be proven invalid, Keleth could be punished. If it could be controlled, it could be used to reshape leadership. Ethan sensed danger before anyone told him. The bond warned him in subtle ways. Sudden unease, sharp awareness. Moments where his thoughts felt pulled toward Keleth without explanation. He reported this to the human doctors who had no answers. The aliens, however, grew concerned. Such awareness meant the bond was stabilizing, not fading. That left fewer options. A joint decision was made. Ethan would be transported to the planet's surface under protection, not as a prisoner, but as a bonded individual. The council insisted that the bond could only be fully evaluated there. Earth hesitated, but agreed. They feared losing him, but feared worse consequences if they refused. As Ethan descended toward the planet again, he felt a strange calm. The silver trees came into view. The land felt familiar now, almost welcoming. That frightened him more than the creature that had attacked him. Keleth waited at the landing site. When he stepped onto the soil, the connection strengthened immediately. Both of them felt it. Neither smiled. This was not a reunion. It was a crossing. Guards surrounded them. Observers watched from a distance. Every movement mattered. Every reaction would be judged. Ethan realized something then. No matter what decision came next, his old life was already gone. He could not return to who he had been before. Keleth realized the same truth. Her future would never be simple again. Two beings from different worlds stood on the same ground, bound by an act neither had fully understood at the time. And somewhere within the planet itself, the bond waited, ancient and patient, ready to demand its price. The trial was announced at sunrise. Not just a legal hearing, but a planetary judgment. Among Keleth's people, this kind of trial had not happened in generations. It was reserved for moments when ancient law and present reality collided. Ethan did not sleep the night before. The bond kept him half awake, aware of distant movement, quiet tension, and Keleth's steady but troubled emotions. He felt her resolve like a quiet flame. It gave him strength, even though he did not fully understand why. The trial chamber was enormous, open to the sky. Silver stone formed wide steps rising in a circle, each level occupied by elders, scholars, and witnesses. At the center stood a simple platform. No walls, no hiding place. Truth was meant to stand exposed there. Humans were allowed to observe but not interfere. Their presence was symbolic, not powerful. Ethan walked onto the platform first. He wore a plain suit provided by the aliens, designed to show respect rather than rank. His hands trembled slightly, but he stood straight. He reminded himself that fear would not help Keleth or himself. When Keleth arrived, the atmosphere changed. The crowd grew quiet. She wore ceremonial armor, light but radiant, marking her status as both royal and bound. The symbol of the bond glowed faintly on her wrist, visible to all. The elders began the trial with a single question. Was the bond real? Witnesses were called. Medical experts explained the blood transfer and its effects. Energy readers confirmed the presence of a stable connection between Ethan and Keleth. The planet itself responded when they stood close, subtle shifts in light and vibration proving the law had been triggered. The bond was real. That much could not be denied. The second question was harder. Was the bond lawful? Keleth spoke openly. She described the moment clearly, without hiding her fear or urgency. She admitted she had acted without council approval. She did not ask for forgiveness. She only stated the truth. Ethan was asked to speak next. He explained the mission, the attack, and his lack of knowledge. He made it clear he had never intended to claim anything. His voice shook only once, when he said he would never have chosen to trap someone else's future. The elders listened carefully. Then came the challenge. A rival faction stepped forward, one that had long opposed Khalith's family. Their leader argued that ignorance did not erase consequence. If the law could be broken once without punishment, it would lose meaning forever. They demanded separation of the bond, knowing full well what that could cause. The chamber filled with tension. Severing a bond was dangerous, rarely attempted, often fatal to one or both parties. The elders turned to Kelith. Would she accept punishment to protect the law? She hesitated only a moment. She said she would accept any consequence meant for her alone. The bond, she argued, should not destroy an innocent life. Ethan reacted without thinking. He stepped forward and refused. If there was punishment, he said, it should include him. He would not allow her to suffer alone for a choice made to save his life. That moment shifted everything. The bond responded. The glow between them strengthened. Energy rippled across the platform. The elders watched closely. This reaction was rare. It showed balance, not dominance. Shared responsibility. Whispers spread through the crowd. The elders withdrew to deliberate. Time passed slowly. Ethan felt the strain building in Kelith, but she did not falter. He stood beside her, steady. When the elders returned, their decision was not what anyone expected. They declared the bond valid and irreversible. But instead of punishment, they chose transformation. The law would stand, but it would evolve. The bond would not be treated as ownership or control. Instead, it would be recognized as a diplomatic and biological link. Ethan would not be Kelith's subject, nor would she be his ruler in personal terms. They would stand as equals within the bond, responsible for balance between worlds. Some protested, others accepted. Earth's representatives were stunned but relieved. Ethan would not be taken or erased. He would choose his path. The final question was left to Ethan. Would he accept the bond openly, or reject it and face the unknown consequences of separation? The chamber went silent. Ethan looked at Kelith. Not as a princess, not as a symbol, but as the one who had saved his life. He thought of Earth, of the life he might never fully return to. He thought of the planet beneath his feet, which now felt strangely like part of him. He made his choice. He accepted the bond. Not as surrender, not as possession, but as responsibility. The decision echoed through the chamber, through the planet, through history itself. The trial ended, but nothing returned to normal. Two civilizations had changed course, and the bond, once feared as a mistake, had become a bridge no one could ignore. The days after the trial felt quiet on the surface, but change moved everywhere beneath it. The planet seemed calmer, as if it had accepted the decision. The silver trees swayed gently, even when there was no wind. The light felt softer. Ethan noticed these things more clearly now, as if his senses were tuned to the world itself. He was no longer treated as a guarded guest. He was given space to move, to observe, and to learn. Not freedom without limits, but trust with responsibility. That difference mattered. Earth's leaders held long discussions with the alien council. Messages traveled back and forth constantly. Some humans were angry. Some were afraid. Many were simply confused. But one truth slowly became clear. For the first time, two civilizations were not speaking as strangers. They were speaking through a living connection. Through Ethan, he did not enjoy the attention. He had never wanted to represent anyone. Still, he understood that running from the role would only cause more harm. So he listened. He asked questions. He learned. Kelith did the same. She invited Ethan to walk with her through parts of the planet few outsiders had ever seen. Ancient structures stood half-buried in stone, built long before her current government existed. She explained how her people once believed the planet itself chose leaders, forming bonds when balance was needed. Over time, those stories became laws, then traditions, then rules enforced without question. The bond between them was rare not because it was forbidden, but because it demanded equality. Most rulers feared that. Ethan began to understand that Keleth was not just protecting him. She was protecting the future of her world. Slowly, trust formed. Not sudden. Not dramatic. Just steady. They did not pretend everything was easy. There were moments of frustration, moments of silence, moments when the weight of the bond felt too heavy. But there was also honesty. When one felt doubt, the other sensed it. When one felt resolve, it carried across the connection. Earth eventually made a formal decision. Ethan would not be forced to return. He would not be cut off either. He would act as a permanent liaison, free to speak for himself, not as a representative controlled by either side. It was a compromise. Not perfect, but real. Ethan recorded messages for his family. He told them he was safe. He told them he was not trapped. He did not try to explain everything, because some things could not be explained yet. The Alien Council announced changes of their own. The bond law was rewritten, not erased. It would no longer apply blindly. Context would matter. Choice would matter. Survival would still be honored, but power would no longer hide behind tradition. Some elders stepped down. Others stayed and adapted. Change was not painless, but it was happening. There were attempts to resist it. A small group tried to challenge the decision, claiming the bond weakened their culture. They acted in secret, hoping to force separation. But the bond warned Ethan and Keleth in time. Their connection allowed them to respond without violence. The threat faded, exposed by its own fear. That moment confirmed something important. The bond was not a weapon. It was awareness. Months passed. Human scientists were allowed limited access to the planet under strict rules. Alien scholars visited Earth stations. Fear slowly gave way to curiosity. Curiosity turned into cautious respect. Ethan found purpose in small things, helping translate ideas, explaining emotions that did not easily cross language barriers, listening when both sides felt misunderstood. Keleth remained a leader, but a different one. She ruled with openness instead of distance. Her people watched her closely, waiting for failure. Instead, they saw stability. One evening, as twin suns dipped below the horizon, Ethan stood beside her overlooking the plains. The world glowed gold and blue, calm and vast. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Ethan said something simple. "I don't regret surviving." Keleth nodded. "Nor do I." That was enough. They did not define their bond with human words or alien titles. It did not need a label to exist. It was duty, connection, and shared consequence. It was two lives altered by a single moment, choosing not to turn away from what followed. Years later, historians would debate what really changed first contact. Some would say it was the technology. Others would say it was diplomacy. But those who looked closely would see the truth. Everything changed the moment someone chose to save a life without knowing the cost. And instead of destroying worlds, that choice bound them together.